In these perilous times, see from current events how biblical prophecy is coming to pass in front of our eyes. You're watching In the Last Days, the program that looks at Israel and the end times with teaching from a Hebraic perspective. With Martin and Nathalie Blackham, thank you to our friends and partners who make this program possible. Now, here's Martin and Nathalie.
Hi, welcome to the In the Last Days television program with myself, Martin Blackham, and with my wife, Nathalie Blackham. Great to have you with us. We are the program that looks at Israel, we look at the news, and we also look at the Hebrew language and the Bible from a Hebraic perspective. So thank you so much for joining us today. And we're going to have a look, first of all, at viewers' comments, Nathalie. We're going to see what people are saying. We'll be talking today about what's happening in Israel, what's happening in the UK, and also we'll be having a look at Islam as well. So you're not going to want to miss any of this program. All going to be very, very interesting. Well, the first comment that we have is from David from Ireland, who says, actually, dear Nathalie, dear Nathalie, I hope that you and Martin are keeping well. We continue to appreciate your broadcast. Thank you, David, and thank you to those who are watching in Ireland. We really appreciate you. This is Russ from the UK. He says, many thanks for your television shows on Revelation television. I always enjoy them. Thank you, Russ. Hope from the UK. Hello, Martin and Nathalie. I am with your program. I am really excited one day to visit Jerusalem. Now, this email came in, Nathalie, when we were talking on the last ITLD update about Jerusalem and the new road project, the Road 1 project, and the bus station and all the works that are going on, and the incredible amount of building and construction that's going on in Israel. So that's from Hope. This is from Africa. This is from James from Sierra Leone. He says, I want to contact you because I love Israel. I live in Sierra Leone, Africa, and we say hi to all of those people who are watching around the world. Great to have you with us as well, and thank you so much for your support for the program. This is from Alan from the UK. Hi, I am a Christian. Oh, you're going to find this very interesting, Nathalie. Hi, I'm a Christian and love Israel. Why, oh, why don't you build the third temple? This is from Alan. Why aren't they building the third temple, Nathalie?
When was that? Was it not so long ago?
This is a recent comment from Alan. Yeah. Why aren't they building the third temple?
Yeah, they have a bit of trouble right now. they want to. When you read the Psalms, when there is the feast of the Lord, they always speak about the temple, you know. And interesting enough, again today I was reading the Psalm 68. And when you read it in Hebrew, it's stronger than when you read it in English, I think, because when he speaks about the house of the Lord, you know that is the temple. And he's speaking about that, and God wants to dwell in it. We can find it if you want, because it was very interesting to see that.
And I think to answer, Alan, to answer your question, I think the issue is that at the moment they have the Dome of the Rock is built,
both
and the Al-Aqsa Mosque are in the area where the temple should be, and obviously they want to build the temple where it should be. So that obviously is a problem, that there are other buildings in the way.
And it is the Israeli police who is making sure that there is order, but is the Waqf who is in charge of looking after the temple. Yeah, which the Waqf is from Jordan. So it's a mishmash of things. This was when they gave back in 1967, which was amazing when they took back Jerusalem. They went onto the Temple Mount and they proclaimed that it was in their hands. But a few days after, they give it back, saying, oh, we don't know really what to do with that, which is the more holy place. But this is, it will come.
It was occupied by Jordan, as indeed the West, what's called by the media the West Bank. That was occupied by Jordan. Jordan had never any legal rights to be in Israel or to be in the Holy Land, but had invaded during the 1948 War of Independence. Jordan invaded, in fact, where we're doing the program today. Near Jerusalem is where Jordanian soldiers were, what they call, to be technically correct, what they call irregulars, but Jordanian irregulars were in this area. And Jordan invaded, as it did a number of Arab countries, invaded Israel. So one of the places,
in
1948.
By the way, I've been 1 week ago, or like a few days ago, because I haven't been for a long time in the Temple Mount, and this, you can see there is now more. They don't want the cameras. They wanted to have some cameras, but now in the end they don't want any cameras. Jordan doesn't want any cameras, but you can see more WAF. They are guarding the place much more than before. Before you were kind of, if you were a tourist, you were quite free to do things. And now I was somewhere and they say, you go this way, you don't go that way. And there is nothing saying that you're free. And I say, I want to go where I want to go. And they say, okay, sorry. But if you don't know that you can go everywhere, they just show you the way, you know, you go here and you go there. It's a bit, anyway, I find, again, on some 68, you see, first of all, they speak is the mountains who are speaking, like there is imagery, and some mountains are the mountains of Bashan, and they speak, and it's like, we want to be like the mountain of God. And after, at the end, I mean, there is a lot of things. We can spend like 1 hour on these Psalms. It's written, out of your temple at Jerusalem, the kings will bring present unto thee. And this is not like just the Jewish people, it will be the nations. So when we read the Psalm, there is so many Psalms who are speaking about the place of God, which is where he put his name. I mean, we can do a program about that one day. Like, just the word of the Bible is so strong, and God say, I take this place, this is mine forever. And so, but I think we're not there yet. And what we can speak about, it was Yom Ha'atzmaut, which is the day of independence.
Israel's Independence Day.
That's it, a few days ago. And so for the first time there was Jews, I mean, not for the first time, sorry, but it's like there is a gathering which is getting bigger and bigger now every year, where Jews are inviting Christians to come.
This is not to do with the Temple Mount. This is in Efrat, where they have the centre, and many of you have really enjoyed the programs. We've had David Krupman from the centre. We've had Rabbi Walicki, which has recently been on from the Centre for Christian and Jewish Cooperation Understanding, and there was a celebration at the nearby the centre for the Israel's Independence Day.
So it was amazing to see Christian and Jews coming together.
Yeah, they invited. There was Jewish people there, and there were Christians there, and they had a worship team, the Jewish worship team, and they had speakers, and you were privileged to do one of the Psalms.
Yes, in French. I wasn't really prepared to speak French, but it was amazing that we're all speaking a lot of different languages, and we're speaking about Zephaniah 3:9. I'm sure that you know, if you follow our program, that is one of the verses that we really like, because it's said in Zephaniah 3:9 that God is going to give a pure language again. And when you study, you can see that it's the Hebrew language. And interesting enough, Martha, I find another book, Lashon HaKodesh, History, Holiness, and Hebrew. Again, is another book that I find, because I'm still carry on studying about just this verse to find what the rabbis have said, what in history, what they are saying. And
there's also your book as well.
Yes.
If the viewers haven't had the opportunity to get that, that's I would recommend that. It's a simple book, very easy to read, and it's very good as a starting place to learn about the Hebrew language. You can order it online at the website www.inthelastdays.com. You can also order it by sending a check, and you just contact us and we'll let you know how you can do that. And if you're saying, well, Martin, I haven't got an email, don't worry, just write to us. The address is at the end of the program, and you can get hold of the book, and we'll tell you how to do that.
I have a lady who couldn't do it herself, and she went to see a friend and said, hey, can you order it for me? And they order it for her. So you can always find somebody now on the computers. But I wanted to read these things because, very interesting enough, I mean, this was also one of the verses that we were speaking during Yom Ha'atzmaut, because it's like the Jewish people are back in the land, and now the world and the nation are saying, "Oh, look at that! You know, this is amazing. After 3,000 years, a little people who've been dispersed all around the world for so long, and suddenly they are coming back, and they are sovereign again in the land. So now, some people in the nations are waking up, and like you were saying, in the Psalm 69, it will be even the kings. It will be the one who are in charge of the nations who will come and say, we want to worship the God of Israel, which is the creator of heaven and earth, and is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So I was reading this book, very interesting, about Lashon HaKodesh, which means the holy language, which is again what we're speaking about that. And we're speaking that Zephaniah 3:8, which was amazing, has all the letters of the alphabet, so all the letters of the Hebrew language, so it's all of them. But not only that, so it's like 22 of them, but also the 5 is letters when it's at the end of a word, they are at the end of a word, it changed form, okay? So all these letters are in one verse in Zephaniah 3:8, which is amazing. It's the only verse in all the Bible who have these 27 letters. And it's like, God is saying, hey, look, watch out, I'm going to tell you something. And the next verse is the one where he say, I'm going to give you a pure language again. And again, the Jewish people are really digging deep. Why the Lashon HaKodesh? How did it come? How did it change? With the Hebrew language, it's a bit different because you have like the pure Lashon HaKodesh. So it's very interesting to hear all of that. But what I find in this book also, which is very interesting, when they say Safa Berura, which is like a pure language, okay? You can put the name, you can put the numbers, numerical numbers, like all the letters, you can look at all of them and all have a number, like this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, and they have a numerical number. And so when you look at that and you look at the pure tongue, is like, we said again, Safa Berura, okay, is exactly the numeral value of Lashon HaKodesh, which is a pure language. So again, when God speaks, is not only, you don't have just one verse, it's like many things, so he's building on the things. So to find that the verse 3:8 of Zephaniah show all the letters, now you can see also in another way than pure language and Lashon HaKodesh have the same numerical number, and again is to say, oh, hi, I'm saying something to you, and is very important. So it's just amazing to see that many people are speaking about that. And you remember we had many people say, hey, you know what, I want to learn Hebrew. I tell you, there is some e-teacher now.
Oh, there's a lot of the viewers, Nathalie, who will already be studying Hebrew.
Exactly.
I know we've had contact from you that you're doing it in groups, that you're studying the Hebrew language.
And you're right, like, again, you are speaking about my book, but sometimes you can take the book and like you can be a little group, because when you learn a language is to communicate. So you can learn it by yourself, and I'm the same now. I want to have somebody next to me. I like learning more because language is communication. So when you can do it together, there is a dynamic that you have with people.
Well, there's a lot going on in the news at the moment, Nathalie, and I was thinking it's very interesting that Alan, thank you, by the way, for contacting us. And we really appreciate to hear from you. Thank you so much for your emails and letters. We will, when we get the opportunity, try and read them out on air. So please keep those coming in. That's email. Our email address is info@inthelastdays.com. And thank you, Alan, about your question about why they don't rebuild the third temple, because one of the big issues, and you know, it's something we've talked about for many years, really, on the In the Last Days television program, is the issue of Islam. And we had the election on the 7th of May of the first ever Muslim mayor of London, the election of Sadiq Khan, who was elected as London's first ever Muslim mayor. It's actually the first, and what's also interesting, it's the first time that a Muslim has been elected mayor of a capital in a Western country. And it's interesting because, you know, the Temple Mount, as we mentioned, is under the control of this Muslim authority. And with the London now having a Muslim mayor, it says, you know, the news reports are very interesting. It says that that he is the first time it's a practicing Muslim and son of a Pakistani immigrant was confirmed as the new mayor of London. This is from the Reuters news service. Apparently, the Sadiq Khan had to wait 6 hours for the result to become clear because of what were described as discrepancies. Some of you may know about this. Hundreds of London Jews, including Britain's chief rabbi, unbelievably, complained of being inappropriately turned away from the polling booths and that they did not appear on the list of registered voters. All the votes in the borough, one of our viewers has contacted us and said all the voters in the borough of Barnet were unable to vote. Barnet is predominantly Jewish. So this is very interesting. And
you mean they were or they weren't?
They weren't allowed to vote.
They weren't.
No, apparently. This is a viewer who's contacted us, so you know, maybe if you live in Barnet, you can let us know if that's correct and email us and tell us. But that's what we've been told. Now, the issue of Islam, we need to just have a quick look at that, and then I know that we've got some other things we're going to talk about today, and also about how you can support us. But the Church of the Annunciation in Nazareth, they wanted to build this is the New York Post that's reported this, was that the Muslims wanted to build a mosque only a few meters away from the church. Some Muslims in Nazareth actually camped out on this site for this mosque to be built right next to the church, and
at the bottom of it.
Right, and it's what actually was the church plaza. So it wasn't just, you know, oh, we want to build in that area. It was literally on top of the church. Now, another interesting news story talking about Islam is it says a mosque 3 times bigger than St. Paul's Cathedral has just been rejected. 3 times bigger than St. Paul's Cathedral.
And where it was rejected?
In England. Oh. They rejected it to be built.
London. In London?
Yes. This is from the Premier Radio News. It says the government has blocked an idea to build Britain's biggest mosque 3 times the size of St. Paul's Cathedral. Now, one of the issues in Islam is that the mosque has to be bigger than the churches or synagogues.
And higher.
And higher, has to be bigger and higher. The 16-year battle has finally come to a head with the government blocking plans by an Islamic group with alleged links to fundamentalism to build a mega mosque. The Tablighi Jamaat group has been accused by some of being a gateway to terrorism, according to the Sunday Telegraph. The group proposed a mega mosque that would have been 3 times the floor space of St. Paul's. The proposed site, and I think we've seen it, haven't we, Natalie? Yeah. Near the Olympic Park in East London would have housed around 9,300 Muslims, as well as accommodating a further 2,000 in another hall. The struggle has involved street blockages, racism accusations, and High Court action. And you know, when we talk about this, sometimes that we can get emotional about this, but we really need to just examine very quickly what the influence of Islamism and some of the background to it, because if you don't understand it, how can you know what's going on with the Mayor of London, with Temple Mount, and with this proposed mega mosque? The first thing is we need to understand is that they have something called Sharia law, which is something that I think has even been suggested they impose in London or in certain areas of London, Sharia law.
They have already tribunal Sharia law.
You're right. There is actually even in England already tribunals, Sharia law, which have status under English law. Now, Islam includes a mandatory and highly specific legal and political system for society called Sharia. It is apparent that any meaningful application of Sharia is going to look very different from anything resembling a free or open society in the Western sense. And it's very interesting that if you've never lived in a Muslim or an Islamic country, you don't know the difficulty to be from another, to be a non-Muslim.
I mean, all people who are not Muslim can't live freely
Right.
in a Muslim country.
Exactly.
So it's like if you let them come in Europe, it means that you won't be free.
Well, that's exactly the imposition of Sharia law means that, or for example, one of the things I was reading about was the stoning of adulterers, execution of apostates and blasphemers, repression of other religions, and a mandatory hostility towards non-Islamic nations, punctuated by warfare, is the norm. It's a sort of totalitarianism.
Yes.
It's not just a religion, but it's actually a way of society. It's a way of running society. And all of this has to do with the new mayor of London, because this is Islam is a practicing Muslim. Now, jihad, which is another part of Islam, is called holy war. What does jihad mean? Jihad literally translates as struggle. Holy war struggle is a physical combat with the infidel, but it's also a fard, which is a Muslim obligatory for them to fight their enemies. And it's not just a physical, it's anything that to fight against unbelievers. So one of the other issues that we face and that London will face is that, you know, with Islam, that it is obligatory to do this. You can't. It's not a question of well, you know, I don't agree with that. It's an obligation of the religion. Now, there's two things. There's the Dar Islam and Dar al-Harb, the House of Islam and the House of War. Those are the two things. They're either there's the country is Islamic, or it's being fought against by. To be under Islam, and if you're not Islamic, there's something called diminitude, the dhimmi. That's a person who lives in Islamic country. That's if you're allowed to, and
you don't have the same level.
Right. There's a tax that you have to pay,
you are like a servant. You can't. I mean, the thing is, when they are not Islamic country, they are waiting for a certain majority. A certain percentage of people, and they are taking over, and after it's them who are ruling, and all the others are just, they have to be Muslim, or they are under dhimmi, diminitude.
And just one final kind of thought, and I know that a lot of you will understand all these issues, but one final thought is that one of the things that is said from the mosque is the Allah Akbar cry, and what is, you know, from an Israeli point of view, from here in Israel, we hear that when there are terror attacks, when there's an Islamic terror attack, and Allah Akbar means that the person is going to blow up a bus or a suicide bombing, or even if they're carrying out a knife attack, very often they shout out.
And they're saying that
Allah
the God
Akbar.
is the greater.
Right, you beat me to it, really.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say that. Well, what does that matter? I mean, what is that? What are they saying? Well, they're saying that it's not that God is great. They're saying their God is greater. And that's the issue. Their God is the greatest. And that's why the mosques must be bigger than the other buildings in the area and taller. And that's why there's a battle on the Temple Mount for that area.
This is interesting what you're saying, because we had the privilege today to go to, this week, to listen to Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, and he's speaking, which is the chief rabbi of England a few years ago, and he was speaking about Islam and about also the Christians and the Jews, and it was very, very interesting. He wrote a new book. If you want, you know, we need to learn, and we need to see where we were and where we are going. And it's very important to stop and read and stop and think, because we're living very important time. And so his book is like Not in God's Name, confronting religious violence.
I think that understanding Islam is very important, not just because of what's happening in London, but also what's happening in Israel, because in the news, we've had a number of terror attacks, Islamic terror attacks from the Palestinians in Jerusalem, in Samaria. We've also had mortar strikes from Gaza, from Hamas, which is an Islamic terror group, in the Gaza Strip, have been attacking Israel from there. There was one particular terror attack I want to just quickly mention. I know that we're coming to the end of the program, but there was a terror attack in a park where two elderly Jewish ladies were, and many of you may know about this, were walking through the park when they were attacked by Muslim terrorists and sustained wounds to their back. Fortunately, they weren't severely wounded in the sense of having to go into intensive care, but I mean they were elderly, and they were just going for a walk in a park in Jerusalem. And even on Israel's Independence Day, an Israeli man was walking in the Pisgat Ziev neighborhood and was attacked. This is not so far from an Arab neighborhood, and was attacked and had to be rushed to hospital. And it's very interesting. And then, of course, understanding Islam also helps us understand what's happening in Iran, because Iran is building weapons of mass destruction. We know that they've just been testing missiles capable of reaching Israel, which, by the way, is in breach of international sanctions. Iran test-fires what it calls a new kind of ballistic missile, and it has a range of 2,000 kilometers. That's 1,240 miles, according to Iran's official Tasmin news agency. Now, some people say, well, these weapons might not work, and maybe they will, maybe they won't. But we know that they're also, Russia is wanting to supply them with weapons, and we certainly know the Russian weapons work, as you remember from the plane that was shot down by some people say, by a Russian weapon. Well, it's been great to be with you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget, we can't make this program without your support. We love to receive your emails, as we've said, and please send those to info@inthelastdays.com. The letters to our address, we will try and squeeze those into our next In the Last Days television program update. And remember, we're living in the last days.
You've been watching In the Last Days, a TV program with Martin and Nathalie Blackham, the program that looks at Israel and the end times with teaching from a Hebraic perspective. If you would like to financially support the program or find out about conferences, meetings, or ministry products, then please contact us with the details on your screen. Visit our easy-to-use website at www.inthelastdays.com and register for our free e-newsletter. Get the latest news from Israel, product information, online video teaching, or watch today's TV program at a time that's convenient to you. Thank you again, friends and partners, for making this program possible.
See you same time, same station for the next program from In the Last Days.